Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof.
G'day, how you all going? It's Dry That Aussie Metal Guy here with crank.com. And tonight, wherever you are in the world, it was a great pleasure that I'm having a chat with Nakatomi Plaza. I have been having a chat with Jason. He did send through the Bodies and the Voices, Bloodlines, and the Voices tracks as well, which are absolutely ripper. Good to get to have a chat with you guys. I know you're pretty newly started out, but you're definitely aren't new in the scene. You've been playing in bands for quite a while. First off, who wants to grab this? Who are Nakatomi Plaza, and kind of how would you describe the sounds you're going for?
Oh, well,
go Jace.
We are three Jasons who have, like you said, Jai, we've been playing in bands for many different years and different bands even together. And we just said, hey, let's do originals. Let's go back to where it means something again. You know, we've sort of strayed away from that for a while. And, you know, we've all grown up on various forms of metal, 70s, 80s, you know, Zeppelin, Sabbath, you know, you name them, Maiden, Metallica. The list goes on right up to, you know, very modern day influences. And look, you know, had some songs sitting around and played it to these guys and said, look, this is stuff I've got sitting here. Do you want to do something with it? And I mean, I'll let you guys answer, but yeah, it was pretty easy to start pulling stuff together from there.
Yeah, I think it was about definitely what Jace was saying before about there's a bit of an oversaturation with other than original bands that were getting around Adelaide. Nothing wrong with that. You know, we've done it. We enjoy it. We do quite a bit of it. But there's nothing like getting and doing your own stuff. And then, you know, it's a bit scarier, but there's a satisfaction that comes with that, you know, the satisfaction that you can't get from playing in the covers sort of scene. So Jace took us back, had a listen to some of the stuff that he had banked up, and we just went, wow, we got to do this stuff and get onto it now. Like, we just couldn't help ourselves.
You had a wow moment, didn't you?
Yeah, we all unanimous wows going on. Yeah. So yeah, it was good, man. Like, we just started getting into it, and it wasn't like it was something like we felt we had to do. It just sort of came and it just spewed forth and just went, you know, like out it came. It was bloody unreal, and we're still going, you know. So yeah.
So what was that like when you first got in there and started, you know, playing these originals? Because you were all in cover bands, and I kind of think that's smart. A lot of people, they kind of need a cover band to pay for their original band as well at times, which is very, very fucking sad. Adelaide and Australia, get your shit together. But what was that like getting in there and kind of playing like those tracks together first time, just jamming together? And how was that, man? You're just saying that was, you know, you had a wow moment there, Jason. You know, and you're kind of all clicking together. What was that like, one? And then when were you like, hey, look, let's fucking do something with this instead of just sitting here in the rehearsal room playing this together?
Mm.
I mean, the big thing, Jai, was that in the bands that we played in together, and now we're still in those bands, you know, we just play less with the cover stuff now. And the biggest difference was we stripped it down to a 3-piece for Nakatomi. So I had to pick up the bass again after many years of not playing an instrument. And to say I was rusty is a massive understatement. But George showed, we called George, this Jace George, by the way. So if you hear George through the interview, he sort of set me straight with, you know, a few tips on setup and the right sort of amps and the right sort of effects and these sorts of things. And so that was the biggest challenge, is getting used to sort of condensing everything down into a 3-piece and also putting up with my very average bass playing. So that was the start. But in terms of, you know, the second part of your question about, you know, what prompted us to get off our butts and do something, well, nothing drives you forward like a deadline, right? And so another very good friend who Jace is in a band with, another band with, gave us sort of a surprise slot on Boxing Day last year. And we went in and did sort of half an hour's worth of covers, and then we sort of went off and got changed and sort of unveiled Nakatomi Plaza sort of as a surprise. on Boxing Day last year. And so with that date in mind, you know, it sort of really motivated us, I guess, to get that, you know, 40 minutes of original material together and get it really tight and, you know, get the harmony vocals going and get that sort of big sound going. So we didn't waste any time sort of sitting around twiddling our thumbs for a year or so, you know, until you sort of launch it. We sort of made that decision quite quickly to make that debut gig, and it's about a year ago, really, you know, to the day, just about. So no, it all comes together quite quickly.
It's just like healthy pressure, Jai. You know, if you put a bit of pressure on yourself to get things done, you get them done. You know, rather than just sort of sit around and go, oh yeah, we should do that. Yeah, we should put out a single. Yeah, we should. We just went, fuck this. Like, let's make a date. Let's do it. We put it in the diaries and go, this is what we're working for. This is what we're working towards. And that's how we work. You know, we want to keep coming up with things, new things, different dates, get them done. Like, keep moving forward. Like, this is a machine that we want to push forward. Like, we're not getting any younger. You know,
exactly. We've only got one life, and like, you sit back and you regret not doing it. And sometimes it's not about releasing music and making millions of dollars and being the next rock star. It's something you have to do within yourself. You know what I mean? And if you've got one person connecting to your music and going, man, this fucking really hit me hard, and you feel like you've achieved something as a musician and an artist, it's great to make a living of it, but it's also great to have that connection through the music and someone getting your music and absolutely going, fuck, that blew me away, guys, coming up after that show as well.
100%, mate. Like, you know, the creative thing. So another friend of ours, he says if you are a creative person, you've got ideas, whether it be music or literature or filmmaking or drawing or painting, if you don't get that out and you've got no conduit, is that the word, for getting that out, you actually become quite an unpleasant person to be around, or you can be unpleasant to be around because you're not able to articulate all of that. So there is that. And in terms of, you know, also what you're saying about if you can just get, you know, one stranger on the other side of the world, and we've had, I don't know, we've on the videos, especially, people out of the blue just saying, this is amazing, you know, and you can say what you want about streaming and YouTube and all these ways of doing things now, but you've got a reach now that you never had before with making, you know, 50 demo tapes and they're still sitting gathering dust under your mum's bed. You know what I mean? It's like, we now have at your disposal these ways of getting things reasonably easily, you know, to people outside of your hometown, isn't it? You
the
know?
whole world's changed, man.
Oh,
You know,
definitely. That's why I connect with like
right?
me on this side too. I connect with a lot of bands like yourselves that have that messaging, that platform going, yeah, now we have a platform, because me being a music media and doing the webzine stuff, and a lot of people like myself were able to also, you know, promote bands like yourselves and support the scene and have that outlet for ourselves to express not only our love and passion for the music, but also the scene in general as well. So I definitely do draw a lot of comparisons to bands like doing that now, and then people like myself being able to multitask, do the webzines, you know, jump onto YouTube and the Spotify. As much as I bag on it, it's also a great platform to get your stuff out there and in people's ears as well.
Yeah. I mean, mate, you know, you sound a lot like us. You're never off. You know what I mean? You're always doing something or thinking about the next something and these sorts of things. And, you know, every band is in the same spot, aren't they? Every new band, every band, you know, that's unsigned or just, you know, you don't want to use the words just starting out, because that's not what we're really doing. Every new project, you know, that you embark on is in the same boat, that starting point. And it's, you just can't beat that feeling when you wake up in the morning and someone from, you know, Mexico or Sweden or Scotland or yourself or someone has just left you a little note or sent you an email saying, this is fantastic, you know, in a completely unsolicited way. You know, you haven't targeted these people. It's just popped up on in their YouTube or in their Spotify, whatever it is. And once you trigger that little algorithm on Spotify, you know, which we have done it with these two songs to some degree, you get that it just opens up a whole world that you weren't able to be across before, you know.
Exactly. And speaking of algorithms, people, don't forget to hit the like on Nakatomi Plaza's videos as well. That definitely helps a lot. And that helps with the algorithms and starting to get some fucking good music on your YouTube there as well. I do want to talk about the music as well, Bloodlines and Voices, and your sound in general. You have a really big sound for a 3-piece. Like, I'm thinking that heavy power metal, that classic metal sound, it really hit me hard. And that's what I noticed about you guys first off. Like, you have this really big sound. You're a 3-piece, but you're able to capture this really massive sound. And Jason's vocals, you know, he has that really big booming power metal, classic metal style to him as well. You know, tell us about that. First off, your sound, your style, and then we'll start off with Bloodlines.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I probably right back even to demoing. I mean, I write the songs that we could very well be a 4-piece or 5-piece band. The fact that we've narrowed it down to 3 was more out of convenience, but in terms of writing the music, we could bring another guitarist in, you know, and really broaden and fatten that sound again. The songs are written in that way that it's for multiple guitars. I guess it comes back down to, you know, our producer, Jack Hartley, working with him in the studio. You know, what a great guy. You know, just, you know, you got to work with people that are like-minded and get your vision and can add to that as well. You know, we did say when we went into the studio to capture our sound, we needed to work with someone that would, you know, help us bring that sound, you know, to its fullest fruition, I guess. And, you know, we went into it, to be honest, with the mantra of this needs to sound like anything we do needs to sound world class. Like, we're not going into to record demos. This has got to be big. It's got to be professional sounding. It's got to be world class. And, you know, that then led us down the path of traditional recording techniques. Like, you got to quad track the guitars. Yeah, it's painful and it's long, but yeah, it's quad tracking guitars. It's you know, mixing different amps together, you know, blending sounds and you know, taking the time to build a sound as well.
Physical amps, not
physical amps, not just
like
digital,
school,
not just software. Like, we actually went in and took the time to say, hey, we're going to pair this head with this cab using these mics, and we'll do this side, and then we're going to do it all again, and we'll put a different head on and let's blend it and let's see what we get. I mean, I love digital. I play live digital, but just being able to use amps in the studio and get that really big, you know, classic fat guitar
and that
sound.
answers your question, I think, John, in terms of how we get that sound.
That big sound, yeah.
That's a big part of it. And you know, I love that. You know, it's helping, you know, by the time we did our sort of second sessions with Jack, like, he was starting to go, even from the songwriting and the tones that I'd work there to get, he's like, I can really start hearing a Nakatomi sound. Like, there's this sound coming through, like, you know, the way the songs are structured. It's not by coincidence. You know, we've taken our time to look at, you know, how we want to approach our songwriting, you know, with the multitude of bands and you know, available music out there, we could easily sound like lots of other bands, and we'll always draw comparisons to lots of other bands because that's art. You're influenced by things you like, and you know, a little bit comes from here and, you know, a little bit from there, but, you know, there aren't 3 others of us. Like, so when we're together and we take those influences and start putting it all together, that's our sound. And I mean, you know, someone could come along and try and replicate that if they felt so inclined, but the 3 of us together produce this sound now, and that's the Nakatomi sound. And you know, I've got to say, you know, I'm really happy with what we've created to start with and where it's heading now. You know, it does feel like we've got that formula and that sound down, and now we've got a real direction. It's like, let's just keep going. So
Exactly. That debut single, Bloodlines, man, that was an absolute ripper. First off, tell us about that track. Then I want to jump into Churches of Steel.
Well, Bloodlines, we could have chosen any song to record first, and George's partner Amy had come up with pretty much the whole chorus, wasn't it, of Bloodlines, and we practiced that, and then we thought, well, you know, you as I say, you could pick any song, but let's go with something, you know, reasonably short and sharp and punchy. And let's have a film clip that goes with it that sort of introduces the band, you know. So that one was a live performance video in this really great venue in North Adelaide, in the basement of the Lion Hotel in these old cellars. And so, you know, Jack sort of made some edits to the song. It did what a real producer does. He produced it and he added extra choruses at the end. He goes, you're crazy to just do that chorus once. Let's do it 3 times or whatever it ends up being. And you know, when your kids start singing the song in the shower, you know that
yeah, when your kid actually thinks you're cool, you're doing something pretty good, man, especially if they're a teenager.
And it was so important, and Jace uses this word all the time, to be accessible, you know, to non-metal people. And so, you know, it's not super duper heavy, it's not got Cookie Monster vocals and unintelligible things going on, and it's got that big hook and those, you know, melodic guitar parts and a big chorus. And so that was important too, wasn't it, Jace, to do something that was not going, ooh, metal.
It's about surprising people. They hear it, they go, oh, right, okay. And when you hear that, you go, nailed it, right? We've actually got that other person that probably would have picked it up. They've known, wouldn't have picked it up otherwise, you know, but play it to them and they actually sit there and they're a little bit intrigued. They go, actually, I don't mind where this is going. Yeah. So I think when you're getting those sorts of responses, you're getting into that accessible sort of avenue of music, you know. We love what we do and we don't really try to make it accessible, but I think just with the influences in our history, yeah, that's true. We do avoid certain things that are not right for us as a band, but we also try and write with kind of, I guess, not commercial intelligence, but an accessibility in mind. You know,
that's the word, isn't it?
Yeah. Also having that what I touch back on, that classic traditional heavy metal sound, that big sound as well. You can't help it. For me, that was what grabbed me. And we keep coming back to Jack. I want to mention Jack Hartley. Isn't he a beast of a producer to work with? He has worked with so many albums and like so many great bands out of Adelaide and South Australia in general. Like I remember talking to him through email as well. I do have to get him on sometime. But what was it like working with Jack down there, dude? Because I've heard so many great things about him. And look, seriously, people, I'm saying this again, if you haven't heard of Jack Hartley, please go check him out. Some of the bands he's worked with, unreal.
He owes you $10, mate.
Like he's working with Jack is, you know, Jack's just, he becomes another member of the band.
Perfect. I was going to say the same thing.
You know, for us, I mean, you know, he and I have had some very long late nights in the studio. We probably could cut some of those sessions shorter, but we just get sidetracked geeking out on gear and geeking out on picking apart, you know, old Metallica videos or DVDs, or, you know, complaining about, I don't know, you know, some kind of monster or how terrible that was or whatever it is. But, you know, just great guy, a wealth of knowledge. You know, he's like us in terms of, we were very particular and very fussy with what the brief around what we wanted to do with the project was, and he just bought into it. You know, we played in the demos, we did the pre-production with him and gave him the opportunity to sort of say, well, what do you think? You know, you can work with us, or if it's not really the thing you're looking for, tell us. That's okay. We won't be offended. You know, we went to him on the recommendation of a number of our other friends in the scene, and yeah, I haven't looked back.
No, they said to us, he will push you and he will get the best out of you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I was just going to say the same thing, Jace. Yeah, he not only does he know what he's doing in the studio, but he does become that extra member of the band, and he does push us, and he knows how far he can push you without us telling him fuck off, you know, I can't do anymore. He's really good. He's got a really good intuition in terms of how to get his best out of his musicians or out of people he's recording. Because I'll want to work really hard for him because he's a really nice guy, you know. And if you're working for some really nice people and they're really encouraging and they're coming up with some great results, it makes you work harder, you know. And we've all worked like hell.
It's great to have people like that here in Adelaide for bands to work with as well. People, you know, that's why I kind of give them a shout out as well, because the scene in Adelaide is absolutely unreal. People don't realize how good the scene is. You know, it's like Churches of Steel being put on that festival down there, which is one you played at as last year as well. Has so many great local bands, but also many great Aussie bands. And then Chris is bringing over the international acts as well now. And Heavy SA is kicking off in a few weeks as well. What was what was that like playing the Churches of Steel festival before I get too far ahead of myself?
Jace, you want to talk about that?
It was excellent because it was obviously our first chance for us to really showcase our sound in front of a crowd that was actually expecting us to play. So, because the first one we kind of like sprung it on people and they kind of, what the fuck is this? I like it, but you know. But when we went into Churches of Steel, we had that deadline and we had a lot of polishing to do and put the songs together, play them up on stage in front of a big stage for the first time all together. So we're all a bit nervous, but you know, we've been doing this sort of thing, playing on good size stages for quite a few years between us. So I think like collectively there's probably about 100 years worth of experience between us all. Yes, I remember the days.
I remember before there was a Metallica.
But yeah, no, it was a buzz, man. Like there was a real buzz excitement. Like it was an awesome day. It was friggin' hot. I remember that. I remember drinking my body weight in beer. But you know, it was a great day. Yeah, everyone really got into it. Everyone was like great to work with. Everyone was on the same vibe, you know. Really good. Chris put together a great show.
He does.
Yeah, it puts on a great festival, and so does Northie. Both of them do some pretty amazing things, supporting the Adelaide metal scene and the Australian metal scene in general. Got Heavy SA kicking off too in a few weeks. Are you guys playing or not this year? Or
we're not. You know, you can't say too much. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but you know, the bands that are selected for that, you know, they're very, very heavy.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not heavy enough. If
that's why it's good having the Churches of Steel festival, because I know Chris, he puts on a lot more for that. Like I know, as you're saying, the Heavy SA is pretty heavy, and then you got the Churches of Steel, and Northie puts on some really great thrash metal bands, some really killer heavy,
that's
classic,
a lot of extreme sort of music there.
That's the one, you know, the one thing about us having that classic power metal, you know, more melodic sound is that it does a couple of things. I mean, one, it can bring a broader audience, so to speak. As you know, the guys have said before, you know, having a little bit more accessible sound, you can get some of the sort of fringies that are, hey, I like hard rock and I'm sort of venturing a little bit further into the heavier stuff and I'm okay with this. But so we're sort of at that crossover area. And you know, like there's lots of bands that we like, and, you know, the I guess, you know, influence, you know, what we do, you know, you've the likes of your Faith No Mores that, you know, were, you know, where do you fit, where do you put them on certain festivals and certain bills with certain bands? We're sometimes maybe perceived a little bit like that. It's like, where do we fit? We, you know, as the guy said, we're not as heavy as a number of the bands that are going to feature at Heavy SA, which, you know, like, I love that. I love that extreme metal. I love the you know, those heavy bands that are playing, and you know, we'd love to be part of that type of festival, but also we understand where we sit in the scheme of things with being a little bit more accessible, and, you know, we don't have the full death vocals. We are, you know, more traditional in that.
But I love going to festivals too that are like that. They have bands like yourself, and then you can see a death metal. But, you know, for me, I fucking love all metal, dude. And especially doing
It's
these
all
videos.
metal. It's all metal. A great riff's a great riff. You know, you see people playing great songs, regardless of how heavy the vocals are or whatever the mix is. It's
Coming
just
back to your hat, like bands like Ghost and Sleep Token, I absolutely adore, man. I love those kind of bands as well. They never claim to be metal, but dude, they are just so bloody good. And I don't understand the hate towards bands like that, because it's, for me, I love being able to jump around in between the different styles, man.
I appreciate good songwriting in any genre. Like I prefer metal, and all its forms. But to me, whether it's pop, whether it's jazz, good songwriting will stand the test of time.
Fucking amen to that.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
Let's jump into your next track there, Voices, which is the most recent. Awesome track as well. Actually, I'll talk a little bit more about that after. Tell us a little bit about the track and also the clip. That was a cool clip, man, showing people around Adelaide and that as well. Like, it's amazing how quiet Adelaide is after a certain time of night as well.
Yeah, so that one, very different song to Bloodlines, a lot more layered, slower, that sort of creepy vibe through it, completely different subject matter. And we thought, well, again, with the clip that, the Bloodlines clip was a performance video designed to sort of introduce people to what the band looked like and how we are when we were playing live. But this one we thought, let's not show our faces. Let's have a lot of silhouettes and sort of capture that 70s indie sort of horror movie vibe, like your Halloweens, your John Carpenter films, these sorts of things. And so we met this young kid, I shouldn't say kid, that's rude, but young bloke, Miles McEwen, who's only 19. And we met his brother, who's in a band, who's even younger. He's like 16 or 17, but they're these ridiculously talented brothers. And again, just like working with Jack, we had a couple of conversations with Miles on the phone, and he explained to us that Halloween, the original Halloween, is his favorite film of all time. And so, again, the video probably took, 2 or 3 hours just walking around and doing this sort of abstract and on a sort of wet and windy night. And it was the night before Halloween, the actual Halloween, last year. And it just, when we saw it again, it was just like he'd understood perfectly what we wanted to capture. And you put the video together with the song, and it's like a really nice match. And the song, it's got loads of different layers.
Yeah, I mean, it was started as a really simple song. It was the usual. It was an acoustic guitar noodle that then became an electric guitar. It made it to the phone. So it was like, oh, it's on the phone now. It might be okay. And then by the time I get into the studio to start demoing anything, if it makes it to the, if it makes it into Cubase, then we're working with something. But it was one of those, and it happened really quickly.
It was a really quick.
I put that song together really quickly. All the melodies, and I sort of sat there with Jace one night in my little home studio, and bounced out the final product, and I was sitting there, sort of dropping bass lines in there, and he was like, I've got melodies for this. Like I could sing something now. And we sort of had the theme, voices, a theme around mental health and the impact that has. It's everywhere today. It's huge. It's a topic that thankfully is gaining more airtime everywhere. So yeah, it came together quickly, and it all just fell into place. And then I think the video really captured elements of if you sit there and you're listening to the lyrics and you're looking at the I guess the way that the clip and the imagery is cut together, it sort of starts making you think more about, well, how's my mental health? How's there are people out there that really do struggle with it, and I'm really, really, really pleased with the result, both song and video. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's an absolutely ripper track, and it's good bands like bringing light to mental health. I was just chatting about this before, actually, with about Sadistic Execution, death metal band out of Sydney. Actually, that singer was bringing light to it like 30 years ago, talking about his mental illnesses and stuff like that. And it's good now that it's become a place that we can kind of talk about it more as well, and talk to your friends about it when they're going through a rough patch. So kudos to you guys as well for bringing light to that as well. And I did send the track over, like the film clip, for my mate DJ Devil Pope. He's a DJ out of Tasmania as well, does some stuff with Metal Ruse and that metal station, but he actually drew comparisons to that Voices to In Flames. Funny enough, he was saying that musically, exactly, he's going, man, it kind of reminds me a little bit of early In Flames as well. You know what I mean? And I noticed
It's made his day, mate.
I know, dude, looking at the musical influences as well, man. So I thought that might, people can listen to different things out of music as well. I was drawing this big sound, this classic metal, and other people can listen to it. Like he was listening to it and he was going, man, I can hear like early In Flames and that Voices there. So you know what I mean? As music is such a subjective thing as well. So everyone getting something different out of it.
I mean, we've had we've had so many different sort of comments around the song. A good mate of mine, the first time I played him the finished track, he was like, there were certain sections of it where he's like, oh, this is the Faith No More song. And like, just hearing the drum bass comparisons and, different elements of the song. And then he sort of come back and he was like, he goes, the one thing I like about this, he goes, the way it pulls melodies and different bits together. He goes, yeah, I can pinpoint this little bit. It sounds like this or it sounds like that. But he still just came back to, and again, maybe that's the whole In Flames thing or whatever, I'm not sure, but it just came back to melody. And he just keeps going. There's just melodies everywhere in there, and he goes, that's what he just sort of nailed it down to in the end.
Tell Devil Pope we're ready to go to Tassie, by the way.
Exactly.
If he wants,
Exactly. And speaking of In Flames, I'm about to jump off and have a chat with Anders as well, guys. So do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, my friends?
Well, look, tell Anders we're ready. February 23rd, I think he's in Adelaide. Or
February 13th.
I'll be there. Clash of the Titans.
I'll be there. The creator.
Yeah,
can't wait.
If it's half an hour up his sleeve, we're ready. We'll jump on, man. We'll play for beer, And Jai, look, just very quickly, congratulations on your own, journey. I suppose since we've met you on socials. Following your journey really closely, mate, and congrats, mate, for kicking its ass. That's really that's more important than anything that we're talking about here today. So thank you very much, Jace. You want to?
Great to meet you, mate, and thanks for having us on, and thanks for getting us out there. Like, feels really good. It's like brilliant. So excellent, man. Thank you.
Pleasure, guys. Proud to support. Thank you very much. Just have an awesome evening. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Jai.
Thanks, Jai.
See you, mate.
See ya.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai, that Aussie metal guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.